Now it's time for Banksy's captains. It's not Benny or Buddy, so please don't at them. It's Banksy's choice, so he's in trouble if his number one choice doesn't double.
G'day listeners, you're back with Benny and Banksy of the Basketball Blokes, and we're here for round three's edition of the Captain's Podcast with Banksy, celebratory episode I think we're going to get this week. Banksy, if you didn't listen to the main podcast, currently second in the universe, and that probably had a little something to do with your captain choice last week, mate.
Yeah, I think it made all the difference. Backing X in after that 29 in round one, and rewarded the faith.
That's it. So next week, for a little bit of housekeeping, this is the last time we'll be saying g'day viewers or listeners. This will be on YouTube as well if you want to check that out. Next week we're going to be saying g'day Patreon supporters. So it'll be, of course, if you're one of our original OG tier supporters or $5 Banksy's Captains tier or the Stats Pack tier, you will need to be signed up for that to continue to get this podcast. And then we have worked on a couple of little things here for this week. We're kind of workshopping on the fly, but happy for any comments on or ideas on the Discord chat, because it's going to be all about great Australian captains. That's what this pod's going to be. And I'm going to be able to keep Banksy accountable, and we're going to start off with a not-so-great captain in Captain Hindsight.
There is no task too large for Captain Hindsight.
All right.
Very nice.
Captain Hindsight. Banksy, last week you went with the top three, and we're going to focus on your number 3 and number 2. So how did they go last week?
So Bryce Cotton, coming off that huge 91 in the single in round one, couldn't match that in 2 games, unfortunately. So Cotton with the 77 across the 2. And we're going with number 2 was Derek Walton Jr. Probably thought he might have gone a little bit bigger, but moderate score of 86 was our number 2 there.
Look, credit to you there, mate. I know when we were live on the podcast, going through Cotton's numbers, and I'm thinking, you're really going to peg Walton ahead of Cotton? And you did it, and you had that in the right order. But accountability, it's what we're all about. We had Pinder and Alan Big Sauce Williams were the others to crack 100 points for the round, and they would have been better captain options. We did discuss Sauce a little bit, but Pinder is one that you're going to have to treat with a little bit more respect going forward, okay?
Agreed. Right under the radar there.
We're going to have plenty more weeks with Pinder on the singles, so you won't have to worry about that so much. But each week I want to focus on how you did with your number 1 selection, okay? And this is obviously where it's at. So week 1, right? We're going to do a bit of catch-up here. You had Majet as your number 1 option. He finished 3rd for the week, so pretty good. And that qualifies for the Paddy Mills, the Rose Gold.
But it's time to bring an Olympic medal home back to our country, Australia, so I can hang it up at Mum and Dad's house.
I cried. Just cutting that clip, it brought tears to my eyes. So 3rd in week 1, not too bad. Now, look, I haven't come up with a clip for 2nd or 3rd to do with an Australian captain yet. Obviously, we have Captain Cook, who's probably a little bit too political to discuss on such a podcast. So just for this week, I'm going to play this.
Let's talk about that dunk. Can you talk me through that dunk, please?
I mean, I got him. You can't play. I love Hunter to death, but I got him, man. I got him good.
Came out to play. Stay out my way. Rock. We gonna fall. We let it pop. Don't let it go. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you.
He gave it to us.
He gave it to us all right, 116 points, and that was with the 9 rebounds in that second game. I know you were, like myself, just counting down for that 10th rebound, and there was a couple of opportunities there. There might have been maybe a tip awarded with a rebound, or there was one I think he was pushed in the back.
Giant shot in the back.
Board. Yeah,
it is so bizarre as a fantasy watcher, and if you're listening to this, you know this feeling. The 9 rebound. You were just watching this guy up the court one way, up the court the other way. You were just hoping for that 10th rebound, and it was absolute blowout. There was no other reason to watch that game unless you got lots of Kings players. But yeah, look, 116 for the round. Number 1 for your number 1.
Could have been 130.
Could have been very close to 130. But well done. You got on the podium with the rose gold. X gave it to you
I'll take
last
it.
week. Let's see who we've got for this week. Now, going to be a very crickety theme. Seems lots of Australian captains, cricketers in that I've been able to use as puns. Now, one particular Australian captain I want to feature each and every week will be this man.
Out! Oh, what a catch! What a catch! The skipper diving away. It was mistimed. He flew through the air like a red-hot pigeon. It was a ripper.
Yeah, pigeons don't fly that well, Bill, surely. That was a brilliant catch from Tony. He would have been...
All right, you heard enough there. It was a very long clip, but we got Ricky Ponting is the man I want to talk about, not Bill Laurie or Mark Taylor, who are also Australian captains in there, but punter. Ponting, I want your punt captain that doesn't make the cut of your top 2, 3, 5, however many you're doing. Who is your punt option this week? I mean, it's not punting as in tanking, which is a fantasy term used sometimes. This is just your one out of slightly left field that you think could go big this week.
Well, I like to do that with my number 3, to be honest with you, because I like to lock in safer options at 1 and 2. But so number 3 is going to be my punt play, and I'm going to go with someone we have not seen in the season proper yet. So it comes with its risk, and that's what the punt's about, isn't it? So
I think so. You've got it. Well done.
Rolling with Robert Franks. Now, although we haven't seen him in his new colours in the season proper, I feel like we got a bit of a stark reminder in the NBA games we saw over there,
We did.
along with his final Blitz game, where he posted a mega 30 points and 10 rebounds, if you don't mind, which netted
Did he
him...
really do that? Wow,
He did,
okay.
30 and 10. That was against the Hawks, 70 fantasy points. That was that final Blitz game. And funnily enough, he plays the Hawks again this week as well. Do like that Adelaide kick it off with the 2 home games. They got the Jackies, they got the Hawks. Now we know the Jackies, they can be restrictive. We highlighted it on, of course, this week's podcast. But if we look back, do a little bit of digging, look at his 3 matchups with them last season, there's nothing to worry about. It's as consistent as you're going to get. He went 60, 61, and 60 were his 3 games against the Jackies. So
Okay. Sounds like
Nothing.
Ponting's batting average almost. Not
nothing
bad.
to worry about there. And then the Hawks, 70 in the preseason game, but again played them 3 times last season as well. 52, 65 and 45 in his 3 games there last season. So I just think, no one's going to have owned him prior to this season. I wouldn't have thought, if you know what you're doing. And if you're after
Banksy.
a unique to make up ground or maybe get ahead of the pack, I really love the play. 9% ownership, 2 home games, elite numbers in his past matchups. And you could argue he's now surrounded by a better supporting squad at Adelaide as well.
Well, I guess when you're looking at that supporting squad, and that is the question, it's like sometimes they pinch points from each other, right? So for someone like McCarron, we think that'll benefit him because he's got better players around, potentially more assists and whatnot. We don't really know. We've seen some of Frank's, I guess, with this Adelaide squad. DJ's a fitness test for this first game.
Could be missing.
Potentially not going at full fitness anyway, so maybe some sort of minutes restrictions there, which sort of bodes in the favour of Frank's. I have a destiny trade that involves Robert Franks this week that I could do, unless you're telling me that I've got a couple of other good captain options with your number 1 and number 2 this week.
Well, hopefully that tempts you.
Number 2.
Number 2. All right. Sticking with what we know, again, I'm going with Derek Walton Jr., DeWalt. Now, he wasn't as explosive as round 1, but still had a more than solid 55. And the 31 in the second game there, of course, was in the blowout win against United, where I watched that game and it was almost as if he wasn't needed as much. He wasn't an offensive threat. His assists were still up there. It was just missing those steals that he had the week before and the extra points as such in the actual game. But the Kings this week, they've got Cairns, they've got Brisbane, 2 of the more favourable matchups available at the minute, you would think. So that's pretty juicy right there. And I guess the guards last week. So Cairns, we just watched 2 nights ago. Cotton looked in second gear and put up a line of 24, 7 and 3. And the other game, Brisbane, well, we just watched someone that probably was going under the radar and wasn't even scoring double-digit points in the points column, and that was Doyle for Tassie. Went off with a 32.6 rebound and 4 assist effort against Brisbane. So I think both these teams are very guard-friendly for the opposition at the minute, and I think
what I like
DeWalt is just a lead in that sense of being able to take advantage.
Still passed the eye test massively. I'm planning on working at side. He never leaves my fantasy team this season. That I think he's that dominant in the point guard position.
Jalen Adams.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about him at the moment. Maybe a bit of news here for those who don't know. We are hearing concerns around Taj McCall. Obviously would be a defensive threat. They're coming up against Cairns this week. Hearing that he's struggling with the hip and might miss a little bit of time. So that is another thing that bodes well in the favour of DeWalt. Very highly owned. I think he's the 4th highest owned player. And I think my Franks trade is off the cards again now. That's good. I've got a captain option this week. That'll keep me happy Banksy. But I guess there's only one, number one. I'm not going to play the song again, but carry on with your number one.
You don't need to fix what's not broken, and we're going to stick with X. Xavier Cooks. Now,
not Rathan Mays.
Not Rathan Mays. No, not that X. So just when we, this is what I think. We didn't think we needed an auto, or we didn't have an auto captain pick this year, and I guess it's starting to feel like that already in round 3. And I guess at least while we've got that stretch of doubles for the Kings, X is almost my auto captain. And honestly, Benny, it just doesn't get any juicier than this. So we know the matchups from what we've just spoken around with DeWalt there. Plays Cairns at home. Get these scores last season for X. 83 and 79 in his last 2 against them. As I said,
delicious.
Cotton just annihilated them, did as he pleased. Sauce in the game prior to that with Cairns, he went 18, 8 and 5. Yes, Alan Williams. Even Creek, who has almost been out of sorts so far this season, he scored 27 in-game points against them there as well. So I just don't know how you can not captain him. He's almost guaranteed to get the 25-plus points if that's what the go-to scorers are doing against Cairns already. And we saw that X definitely has his rebound game back. Plays Brisbane, went 65 and 62 against them in his 2 matchups last season. We just saw him play Brisbane, so we know what to expect there. They couldn't stop him. It was another 64-point outing with the double-double. Bounced back with those rebounds in good fashion, and they just really didn't have an answer for him from what I saw. He was flying and passed the eye test, and no concerns with him playing them again. It's just an absolute lock for me. The only flag this week is that no one listens to this podcast because it is just that damn simple, my end. I just wouldn't be able to sit down and enjoy this week's round of games without knowing that I'm getting those double X points. I don't want that stress. I just think that X is going to give it to you again this week.
Look, as Xavier owners, and we're sitting in the top 5 of the rankings, we would have those kind of feelings. But look, I think Walton is still a very, very good option, and which leads me to our final segment, which I'm trying to introduce, which is the Bradman. See, cricket.
And he's on Bradman. Now I ask you, is he any good?
We know that Xavier is very good. But is he a Bradman in the sense that 99.94% of all the fantasy coaches in the world need to be captaining him this week? I think we've got a couple of options where he's not at that Bradman status. I'm pretty happy with your number 2 and 3. Despite what you've just said as an owner.
Yeah, DeWalt's definitely an option. I just think that for those bonus points with the double-double, I think we've got a better chance with X getting the double-double with the boards.
Look, mate, I'm very happy with that as an ex-owner. What excites me is you've got Pinder and Cooks, Baines and Cooks. Going to be must-watch basketball for this week. Sign up, guys, as Patreon supporters. You can find all the links on Banksy's beautiful website. The Discord chat is really good accompaniment to our live scoring, which is getting a nice amount of views. That's a good way to take in the basketball game without having to do some manual calculations on the app or something along those lines. So basketballblokes.com for the live scoring. Sign up as a Patreon. Follow us on Twitter. And Banksy will be behind the paywall next week. And thank you to all our Patreon supporters for your support. Any final words?
That's it. Enjoy. Good luck.